Welcome to another Paranormal Highway. Now, before we get started, today is 9/11, so make sure you give thanks to the people who lost their lives during 9/11. So just want to put my heart out there for that. Today we got a good show. We got the famous Berkshire UFO story. Hold on one second. I hear a little echo. Let me fix that. Give me a second. Hold on a second. Hold on one second. All right, got that fixed. The Berkshire Incident versus the Val Johnson Incident. Now, if you don't know these two stories, fantastic. You're coming to the right show. This is the perfect show for you. If you do know them, that's even better. Now, I'm still stuck in the middle on what I feel is the bigger story. So maybe after I look at a few videos on both sides and listen to you find people in the chat, maybe that will sway me to one side or another. As of right now, I don't even know which one I'm going to pick. So kick back, relax, get some popcorn, get the car keys, get ready, get on the Paranormal Highway because we're taking a ride, baby. We are taking this ride all the way to what's ever out there. Unless they don't want me. So get ready. All right. Before we start, I want to give a little disclaimer. Now, sometimes these stories, we know people in the community that are close to sometimes a story. Sometimes they know somebody who's involved with the Val Johnson Incident or the Berkshire UFO story. There's people who are involved in those groups. That is no reason to vote for something just because you know somebody who's involved in certain groups. When you put in your vote, it needs to come from here. It needs to come from you. Do not vote for something just because you know somebody, they're close to it, because otherwise you're no different than watching a CNN News or a Fox News, where they're telling a story, but then they put in their party beliefs, trying to narrate the story to make it work for them. So now, if the story is great for you, even though it's involved with somebody that's fine. There's no issues. But I'm just saying, don't ever vote for something just because you know somebody who might be involved, even though you think the other story is more credible to you. You got to be truthful with yourself. All right. You have to be. I just want to make that clear. I'm not trying to, I don't want people to pick a side just for that reason. Like I said, there's no reason why there's a bigger story, but at least make it a certain reason. It's one of the stories that made you a believer first, or whatever it is. Just don't pick somebody just because somebody else does. Hey, that's my favorite band. Oh, that's my favorite band too. Come on, give me a break. So you got to be real with yourself. All right. The Berkshire versus the Val Johnson. Now, I'm going to play some videos on both sides. We'll start with the Berkshire UFO story. So if you don't know these stories yet, Don't put in your vote. Wait to put in your vote in the poll after you hear these stories, because I know not everybody know these stories. Some people do, some people don't. Or some people might know more about one story versus another. That's another reason you might want to wait just to hear the other side. So let's start with the Berkshire. Let me pull up the video. This one is called the 1969 the Berkshire event. So this story happened in 1969. So let's check it out.
The 1969 Berkshire UFO Incident on September 1st, 1969, the Reed family claimed they were abducted by a UFO in Berkshire County, Massachusetts. Today, Berkshire County, Massachusetts is famous for its wide-open countryside that makes it a popular vacation destination. But the rural territory was once heralded as a hotbed of UFO activity following the alleged sighting that took place on the evening of September 1st, 1969. More than 50 years later, the true scary story of the Berkshire UFO incident remains perhaps the most chilling tale of an alien abduction on record. According to witnesses' creepy stories, a disc-shaped craft was seen performing acrobatic maneuvers in the sky above the Berkshires that night. Others say they didn't just see the craft, but were taken aboard it. It's unclear exactly how long the phenomenon lasted, but many who claim to have witnessed the Berkshire UFO described losing time, unable to account for an hour or so during the incident. Everything got really calm, said Thomas Reed, one of the most well-known witnesses of the 1969 Berkshire UFO phenomenon. It was like being in the middle of a hurricane. There was like a barometric change in pressure. It was just like a dead silence. Then there was an eruption of crickets and frogs, and it got really loud, and that was it. It was estimated that at least 40 residents, including children who are now adults still living in the Berkshire area, saw the alleged alien aircraft. Some of them reportedly called into the local radio station to share the bizarre phenomenon that they had just seen. About 40 people in the Berkshires shared their creepy story of witnessing a UFO in 1969. Today, a monument to the incident stands near the Sheffield Bridge, pictured. We had listeners called the radio station that evening, said David ISY, general manager of local radio station WSBS. At the time they didn't know it was a UFO, they just, called the station to say something bizarre has happened. The large number of simultaneous witness accounts during the UFO Berkshire incident has made it a distinct case among alleged sightings in recent decades. The witness accounts were so plentiful and compelling that the Great Barrington Historical Society decided to officially recognize the incident as the first off-world/UFO case in U.S. history some 45 years after it happened. Following the stunning recognition, witnesses...
Just so you know, a lot of states are doing that now. A lot of states are taking folklore stories. I'm not saying they're real or fake, and making them into a day. Vashon Island, where I live, did that with Mary Island. It is now voted into their bylaws or something in there. So a lot of states are doing this. I know Mothman has a thing with their city and all that. So that is actually nothing new. Some people say it's another gimmick for to make money, which, listen, it's fine. I don't care to make money. And, whatever, I don't like the word gimmick because, there's a lot of truthful to it. But, cities doing that, it's make money, do parades. I'm all for that. That is awesome. But it's nothing new. It doesn't guarantee that the story is 100% real. I know some people say, well, Eric, it's in their bylaws now, so there must be some truth to it. No, you got a lot of city council people just sitting in a circle like, this might be good for the town. Okay, I live in Des Moines, right? The home of I live in Des Moines, the home of the Men in Black, right? Here, let me show you this. The birthday bash. Every year they do a birthday bash in the town. All because they do this, all because it's in their bylaws, it doesn't mean that there's truth. I think there's some truth to it, but in Des Moines, but it doesn't mean, like Ron says, it's just a piece of paper. So, and I'm not saying the story's not real because of that. I'm just saying that don't get caught up because a city or a state, because most of these people on these councils don't know shit and they don't care. They're just looking at ways to help increase tourism in their town, which is fine. Listen, in the state of Washington, there's a town way above the Olympic Mountains called Forks, Washington. Forks is it's a little like nothing town, but because of Twilight, that town has tourists going in there, and most of the movies was not even shot in that town, but the town embraces it. It's a great way to get people to come in and make money. You know, so and all that. So just want to get that out there.
Formed the nonprofit UFO Monument Park Incorporated to build a monument in the area.
That's cool.
The monument.
That's cool. If there's a way to get a park, like funds for it, you know, for a park for people to go and sit and all that, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Meant as a landmark to honor the alleged UFO encounter that residents saw in 1969, was erected by the group and signed by Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker. Thomas Reed left, who saw the Berkshire UFO when he was 9 years old, and his brother. Despite the significant eyewitness accounts of the event, some residents of the town have fought to keep scary stories of the alleged UFO incident under wraps. The monument was removed following contentious arguments between the group of witnesses that built the structure and local officials in 2019. Still, the eerie aftermath of the unexplained encounter stays with residents who bore witness that fateful night and who continue to share the creepy story to this day.
All right, a couple things. What is interesting is the amount of people that have seen it. You know, they what was it? They said like over 40 people. Now the kid was 9 years old. I think 9 years old could be an age that you know. Listen, hold on. 84. I was 11 years old when we had our Bigfoot encounter, and I can remember that day. So I was 11. I think 9 years old could be the age, you know, that would have a good memory of it. You know, it's hard to say, right? Because different ages of kids, memories are different than everybody else. But you know, because I know some people say, "Well, he's 9 years old. What did he really see? Did he really see something?" Well, 9 is pretty good age. I mean, I was 11. You know, 2 years does make a huge difference when you're kids. It truly does. But hold on a second. Danny wrote, Ron, hey, Anthony and Eric have my phone number. Get it from one of them, brother. Oh, okay. Yeah. Cosmic Neighbor, Ron, I'll email it to you. And then, so 40 people, and it is more interesting to hear a lot more people. Now there was a story, I can't remember the name. There was a girl who was in a car with her sister and parents. Apparently, she says she was she got abducted by the ship. She went up to the ship, and to this day, she talks about her sister. But the only weird thing about that story is she never mentions her parents at all. I'm like, such a major dramatic. Your parents was with you. How come you only mention your sister, not your parents? That nothing huge, nothing weird. Now, I got another video of actually Thomas Reed talking to Fox News about the incident. Now, this one is about 6 minutes, but the actual person who makes the claims of being abducted, and like I said, that's up to you if you want to believe it or not. This is all because somebody speaks to the news, speaks to somebody, writes a book, doesn't mean it's real, it's true. They can, you know, somebody can be truly abducted, but it might not have been a spaceship. So listen to the story with a grain of salt. And I would say when you listen to somebody tell a story, just try to look at their body language, look on how they're saying it. You know what I mean? Because, my Bigfoot story at the end of the day is just a story to most people. So it's hard to make claims when somebody tells a story that it's real or not. So that's why, watch how they tell the story, see how they say it. And it's more about getting that feeling if you truly believe that person. So let me pull up this interview. Berkshire UFO sighting interview.
We all have questions. We all have questions about aliens. Are they real? What do they look like? Where do they come from? Are they friends or enemies? And more importantly, what do they know about us? We want to make a good impression on the aliens, so NASA is projecting a series of messages into space, to let the aliens know that we come in peace. What's in the messages? Well, a lot of boring science stuff that goes over my head, like our DNA structure and some math equations, which they believe will give some aliens basic info about our society. But just in case the aliens don't like math or science, NASA is sending something a little more provocative into the galaxy. Nudes. That's right. NASA sent up a diagram of our heavenly bodies. I'll be honest, it's a bold move. And I wonder if the aliens think, maybe we're coming on a little too strong. My only question is, if they like what they see, what will the aliens send back? If you've read my book, How I Saved the World, it was #1 on the Times list. When I was younger, I talk about a UFO sighting. And I don't want to give away too much of the detail because I want you guys to still buy the book. But it did fly away from me, and maybe that was a good thing because the Pentagon just released over 1,000.
Okay, hold on.
Although it would be hard for me to tell. Damaged nerves and all kinds.
One
of the most famous extraterrestrial events in American history was the 1969.
I'm sorry about that first part. I should have deleted that part out. So now we're getting to the part where they're actually interviewing Thomas Reed on his encounter. So you get to actually hear in this video from the actual person who's making that claim.
Berkshire UFO sightings. Several groups of people in different locations reported making contact on the same exact night. And they all had slightly different experiences. And if you ask, many of them still struggle to describe what happened that night. But something happened. In fact, there were so many eyewitnesses, the state of Massachusetts couldn't dismiss this as some deranged thing. They actually recorded it in the state's archives as historically true. Tom Reed was one of those eyewitnesses in the Berkshires. He was only 6 at that time in 1969, but his life hasn't been the same since. All right, Tom, what happened during your encounter?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was Labor Day. It was a holiday, and we were driving through the Sheffield-covered bridge. It was like a shortcut home. And as we came out the other side, our entire family saw what looked like a sphere. It was a round. It looked like a large cue ball, but it was bigger than our station wagon, and it kind of rose from the banks of the Housatonic River off to the left side of the bridge. And as we continued going forward, there was another orange one to our right, which would be like at 5 o'clock if you were a clock. And that one stayed lower to the water. And my mother kept going maybe 20 or 30 yards down the road until she saw a clearing. And when we stopped, we all looked over this clearing, trying to get a second look at this thing. And that's when we saw what looked like a large disc-shaped object that was about 100 yards in size. It reminded me a lot of a turtle shell. As a child, I referenced things as things I can remember. And it wasn't shiny. It did not look like what you would expect to see. It had a large center to it. It just hovered about 3 stories high. I've mentioned over the years that it kind of put out a light, but it was the sheen or the shell of it itself that kind of emitted this amber or reddish tint to it. And so we really just sat there looking at it. We were kind of in awe. And at that point, then it just felt like we were deep into a swimming pool, like this pressure change. and there was a tapping sound, reminded me of stones hitting underneath the fender wall of a vehicle. But we were already parked. You know, the lights were on, the car was running, but we weren't moving. And then all of a sudden the car lit up, and then everything.
I just want to pause it for a second because there are some different YouTube documentaries on this, different people telling a story. And one thing I have noticed with a few of them have mentioned the pressure chamber, the pressure of it all. They felt the pressure. So that's pretty interesting, because the reason I'm bringing up the pressure, like, why are you bringing up the pressure? Because if none of these people have talked to each other and they're all mentioning the pressure, there's got to be something there, right? There's got to be something there. What is this pressure that they're feeling? How come more than one person who claims to be abducted during that time talk about the pressure? So that's an interesting, to me, that's a plus. That would be a plus, you know. So I just want to bring up that pressure one. So that is a pretty cool, that is a key element to the story, that multiple people have mentioned the word pressure.
Kind of went silent. This vacuum of silence is the way I worded it. And then all of a sudden, bang, everything came back to life again. Crickets, the sounds of nature. And then that's the last thing I remember from being in the vehicle.
So what were the health effects that you experienced?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just he kind of looks like Uncle Foster. No offense, just saying. Must have. Oh my God! Thanks, Raymond. Now you're putting that in my head, and when I'm looking at him, now, thanks a lot. He does look like, and I'm not making fun of him. I just like, now I'm seeing Uncle Foster. Oh man, thank you, Raymond, for that.
Well, my brother had marks on his chest behind his right ear. I had a mark on my right arm. My brother and I went pretty much bald by like 22 years old. Not sure what happened there, but we're the only ones in our family to have lost our hair like that. You know, I've had nerve damage. I have very bad eyesight. I've had 5 operations on my eyes. And a friend of mine, too, that was involved in this case, too, has the same eye problem that I do.
That is really bizarre. And the state of Massachusetts has classified this as legit?
Yeah. Made the cover of the Boston Globe. Our family got inducted into history. There's a park in our honor in Sheffield, Massachusetts, and it's kind of a unique thing to be part of. But, you know, seeing what we did was extraordinary. I mean, I felt privileged to be part of that. And like I've told other people, you know, this little off-world incident that we were involved with wasn't all that trying. It was really the on-world, you know, how people treated us, you know, after talking about something that they couldn't get their heads around, you know.
Yeah, well, it is a fascinating story, and we hope you feel better from your...
All right. Now, that's cool that, you know, if I could get like live interviews, stuff like that, of course, it's better to have the real person on a channel, but a lot of people in the UFO community don't want to come on my channel. That's fine. I mean, I don't care. So, again, like I said, you don't base the truth on cities recognizing it, governors, and that's cool. That's cool. A lot of places recognize folklore, real or fake, for money. But when you listen to him, do you feel he's telling you the truth? That's how you judge it. And again, what's interesting about the story is just take him away. Over 40 people have seen it. More than a couple people has made claims that they've been abducted during this incident. And one thing that I always like what Danny Statton said, that, you know, when you try to make a difference between two stories, that some stories, there's more people that witnesses versus another story. Now, that doesn't guarantee a story's real or not, but if there's a lot more people, you know, then the first thing I will look at is, do these people know each other, or they're all spread out? And apparently a bunch of different people call in the radio stations and all that. So there's I'm just going off the story, Anthony, but they said in there about phone calls to a radio station, not the overall town. 40 people called a radio station when I'm saying 40 people, what I'm meaning is in the beginning of the show, I was talking about 40 people called the radio station. So again, remember, we're going to hear both stories. And like I said, got to listen to both stories, and then you got to make your judgment. Like I said, and don't ever base your story because maybe somebody else likes them or not. You got to choose the story that you feel that is more real to you, based on yourself, not from somebody else. I want you guys to know that you gotta honestly pick a story because you believe one story is more than the other. So to be fair, so that's good. But so far, I'm gonna look at the voting, but hopefully a lot of you people haven't voted yet until you watch the second story. And right now, my God, it's tied. Literally, it's tied 50%. Wow. All right. Let's hear the second story of the Val Johnson Incident. All right. And this happened in Minnesota. So let me find that Minnesota video and we'll check it out. Where is it? There it is. Let's hear it.
After decades of secrecy, the federal government now admits there's stuff flying in the sky that they cannot explain.
My feeling is that there is clearly something there.
Sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena clustered around U.S. training grounds that maneuver abruptly at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion.
It is real. That's no longer a point of conjecture at this point.
This admission gives new light to Minnesota's mothership of UFO stories. August 27th, 1979, Warren, Minnesota, 20 miles from the North Dakota border. Sheriff's Deputy Val Johnson was on routine patrol after midnight when he saw an unusually bright light.
Hold on a second. Freaky Geek, why call a radio station and not the police station? That's a damn good question. A lot of people actually, believe it or not, do call radio stations because they want to know if anybody else has seen the sighting. Freaky Geek, because you call the police are just going to take your story, take your thing, write it down. A lot of times people call the radio station, want to know if other people have been seeing the light. So, all that. Hey, listen, Freaky Geek, listen. Working for the cable company as long as I have, when the power goes out, you'll be surprised how many people who lose their power call the cable company. I'm serious. I listen to these calls. Oh, my TV's out. Ma'am, is the power out in your house? Yeah. Well, you don't got TV because your power's out. True story. TV's out. The power's out. And they call the cable company. Like, somehow we're going to restore the power. So... And often when something like this happens, call centers get jammed up at the police. That is true. That is absolutely true. That's another kind of a evident kind of a thing too. Like you see something, right? You call the police and they're jammed with calls. That means more than one person's calling. But you'd be surprised that a lot of people, especially back in the day when you actually had DJs, a lot of people trust their own DJ over the police.
On Highway 220, hovering over the center of the road. He thought maybe a crashed semi or a downed plane, but as he approached it, he says the light, without a sound, instantly jumped through the windshield, hitting him like a, quote, 200-pound pillow, knocking him out. His watch and car clock had stopped working. He says his teeth were fractured at the gum line, his eyes burned. A doctor said it appeared as if Johnson suffered welder's burn in his eyes. His story...
And here's another good point, real quick. I'll go back to the story. So just a heads up, people called into the radio station because the radio station wanted to know who witnessed UFO too. That's true too. Some radio stations will actually get a phone call and then they ask the public, have you seen the same thing? So sometimes, remember guys, back in the day, the radio station is your internet. It's your internet back in the day to reach to other people. So.
And injuries mystified the nation.
It's fun to look through them all. A Light in the Night. The X-Files of the Red River Valley.
But there's another piece of evidence that to this day brings the curious to the Marshall County Historical Society Museum.
This is the big thing that they come to see from all over the United States. People have come to see this car.
Val Johnson's squad car, damage and all, remains.
Whatever hit them started with a broken headlight, and up here there is a weird dent right in the top of the hood, broke the windshield, hit the reflector, and bent both of the antenna. When they found him, his watch and the car had stopped for 14 minutes. Who knows?
Just for the record, that would not be enough for me. You know, evidence is a weird word, right? Follow the evidence. We'll look at this. We'll look at this. We'll look at this. Look at this. Listen, anybody can make up a fake evidence, paperwork, fake this, fake that. I mean, things are being faked all the time. It's just that's just the nature of it. You know, some people say, well, I saw the evidence. Well, that's great. You saw the evidence. I didn't see the evidence. What's your evidence? Well, I got these classified. Oh, is those real papers? Oh, it's written by man. So because it's written by man, that means that classified is real? Doesn't mean shit. A lot of people make claims they all have evidence, and you know, this is the evidence. Great. And I'm not saying this car is not hit by a UFO. It could be, but seeing a dent, seeing break, that's not enough for me. That is not enough for me. You know, listen, the only real 100% real evidence is you being there. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. The only real evidence is if you were there. That's it. That's it. If you were there. I'm waiting for the day when we get true physical evidence. Even if something happened to someone at the end of the day, it's still just words. That's my point. Everything is still just words. You know, even when people say, look, I got these files. Those files still have to be written by somebody. You know, some people say the Bible is written by men and all exaggeration stories. I'm not saying there are, but you know, at the end of the day, only 100% real evidence is you being there yourself. You yourself. Almost every single story is all really comes down to the word faith. What do you have bigger faith in? That's it. I've seen giant things over my house and I know what I saw, but it's just a story to everyone else. Exactly. You know, my Bigfoot encounter is just a story to everybody else. Not to the 11 of us that was there, but to everybody else. No, that's why I don't get upset if people believe something or not. You know? It's interesting. I love listening and hearing every single story, but it doesn't mean I just don't want people to jump on bandwagons just to jump on a bandwagon. You got to really, truly have faith in the thing you're looking at, you're watching, any kind of evidence. You really got to have faith in what, I guess, choosing these stories. You got to have faith.
The sheriff's office back in '79 brought out experts from Honeywell and the Ford Motor Company to examine the damage. The crash investigator from Ford said the cracks in the glass, collectively, were unlike anything he'd seen before. No one in 42 years has been able to take,
or it's the first time he's seen a crack like that. You know, I'm not no expert at looking at windshields on cracks, but I'm sure if I got 100 windshields, they're all going to be cracked a little differently. And I'm sure out of 100, 20, 30 of those, I've never seen it crack this way. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter what hits it. You know, it's just funny. I've never seen it this way. Never. Well, maybe that's the first time you've seen that line of cracking. I don't know. I don't know. So what? I mean, UFO or not? What, does a UFO have a certain kind of metal that's going to make a window crack a certain way? I don't know.
all those facts and create a reasonable explanation as to what happened, including Val, who in 1980 said, quote, "Upon reflection, we've come to the conclusion that perhaps the Creator has made other things we can't readily see or readily identify, and perhaps this is one of the things we encountered on the road."
All right. I got one more video on the Val, and then we'll talk about it. Then we'll talk about what am I going to pick and what you guys are picking. So one more video, and then we'll talk about it.
It was 1:40 a.m. Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson was on patrol in rural Marshall County when suddenly he saw a bright light a few feet above ground level 2 miles down the road.
I traveled about a mile, and the light seemed to intercept me, so to speak. Came right upon me. It was painful. The light was extremely brilliant and painful. I closed my eyes and I heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's the last I remember.
Whatever it was came extremely fast.
I'm not saying he didn't see something with the bright light. What if it's an experimental aircraft that has a bright light? You know, if it's dark, I mean, we all think we see everything with HD eyes out there. You know, we see everything clarity, but even sometimes you're outside, you're looking at certain things. When you look at a certain item, it looks differently than what it really is. It's, you know, I'm not saying your eyes are playing tricks on you or not, but it's just the way it is. So I'm not saying he didn't see something. He might have seen something, but it just might not be what you think. It might not be the UFO from another planet. You know what I mean?
Fast. He didn't have time to be scared. He doesn't know what it was.
I have no idea. It's truly unexplainable to me, or unknown to me.
Johnson was unconscious for 40 minutes before he radioed for help and was taken to the hospital. A doctor and later an eye specialist confirmed that Johnson had suffered mild welder or flash burns to his eyes. Even stranger, both Johnson's wristwatch and the electric clock in his patrol car had mysteriously stopped for 14 minutes. An investigator from the Center for UFO Studies in Evanston, Illinois, flew in to...
Of course, again, that's what he claims. He said 14 minutes. I mean, I haven't heard that somebody else verified that. That's the claim that he made about the clock and all that. Just want to say that. I haven't heard somebody verify that really truly happened.
Examine the damaged patrol car. There was no evidence of radioactivity, and neither the investigator nor the sheriff can figure how the two spring-mounted antennas became bent at almost 90-degree angles. At the scene of the accident, skid marks show Deputy Johnson coasted for 800 feet after impact before applying the brakes. The area around here has been searched, but nothing's been found. All kinds of small airplane theories have been bandied around, but Deputy Johnson clearly remembers hearing no engine noise. And nothing explains the 14-minute lapse in the two timepieces, nor the peculiar bending of the antennas. It's a mystery. Or, as the UFO investigator from Illinois said, it appears to have been a close encounter of the second kind. Jillian Rice, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
All right.
So where...
All right, hold on. So let's look at this. Let's break it down now. Let's break it down. So that story is mostly his saying. Now, there is damage to the vehicle. That's real. We know that, right? That is actually real because it's actually, in the museum. So something did damage it. Now, what if, I'm just saying this, what if he did something stupid? Whatever it is that he caused that damage to make it look like he didn't do the damage. He said that he saw this light, trying to blame on something else. Could have. I'm not there, and to verify the 14 minutes, again, that's his story. Now, it's kind of hard, right? Because one has over 240 people who've seen it over that even call or make the claim. We know a lot of people see things that they don't do the report. So they're just a number, over 240 people apparently seen the Berkshire, 40 people called the station. So you do have more people witness the Berkshire versus one man in the vehicle who experienced his incident. Now, it's hard because more people here, but only one person. I am, I am going to choose the Berkshire story because of the amount of people that have called in and supposedly not know each other versus just one sighting of a cop. Now, I know some people say, well, Eric, he's a cop. Why would he do that? Maybe he's in a small town. He didn't think he's going to get out. A lot of people will know about it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to choose the Berkshire because of the amount of people that have seen it versus his. But it doesn't mean, listen, something can happen to them both. Since we weren't there, we don't know. Or there could be a simple explanation for both, but we weren't there. But based on the story that I'm hearing, listening to, we listened to the interview of Thomas Reed. We listened to the interview of Val. So, we heard both, but you can only pick one. You can't remember this. You can't pick both. You can only pick one. So I am going to choose the Berkshire just because the amount of people that's seen it. The amount of people. So let's look here. Thank you, Jeannie. I just got a text from her. Okay. It's the Berkshire. Okay. Well, actually, let's look at the voting now. Now, everybody, you heard both stories on both sides. You saw videos of both. What is the bigger story for you? And it could be for whatever reason it is. Why you choose a story that means more to you is truly up to you. So let me look at the voting now. So right now, the Berkshire is winning 54% to 46%, which is where I kind of thought it was going to be because, I mean, honest to be told, these stories could be way more real than the Roswell, but the Roswell has the bigger name. So, Roswell will always win. The Berkshire and the Val Johnson incident is probably stories that's on the same kind of level, right? Believing it or not. So, all right. Hey, we got to have fun on this show, right, people? We got to have fun. So right now, as the voting goes, 54% for Berkshire versus Val Johnson. Now, you guys saw a video with Thomas Reed that looks like Foster from, what was it, Addams Family? I can't remember now. So you got Thomas Reed. That's it. Okay, we're in New York. We got a boxing ring. Here we go. We got the boxing ring. You got Tom Reed going to go box Val Johnson in a boxing ring. Who will win that fight? Who's going to win that fight in a boxing ring? Thomas Reed or Val Johnson? Now, if you think Thomas Reed will win that fight, put 1. If you think Val Johnson will win that fight, put 2. We always got to have fun. We always got to do this. If there's a boxing ring between the two, who will win that fight? Now, I like Thomas Reed. He's a good guy. But I'm going to have to say, Val Johnson, I would think he'd be trained as a cop, that he should know how to fight. So I'm going to give the edge fight to Val Johnson in a ring, in a boxing ring. Who do you guys think will win that fight? All right. Val Johnson, me too. Just because he's a cop, he should know how to fight. Thomas Reed is a nice guy, sweetheart, right? I don't think he really has a mean bone in his body. So I think he'd probably be knocked out maybe in the first, second round. Not disrespecting him, but you just think that Val Johnson, as a cop, should know how to fight. Val Johnson. Val Johnson. So the Berkshire Incident is going to win against Val Johnson. But if it was a fist fight, Val Johnson is going to win. Okay, let's see here. Looks like, hold on a second. Oh, I lost my thing. Whoa. Where's my, oh, there it is. All right, freaky geek. Eric, why don't you have anybody in the UFO community who is close to the stories? Starman Beyond, listen, people from the UFO community don't want to come on my channel. That's their business. Apparently there's a list of the top 5 people do not go on their channel. I'm on that list for whatever reason. People are, I don't know, they're terrified, they're afraid to come on this channel because I don't pick stories just because I know somebody, I like somebody. I picked a story because what I feel, is there enough evidence or something? Maybe because I'm too truthful. So I could give a rat's ass that listen, I love to have guests coming on my channel. I love to have guests on every side of the story. But the truth is, I'm going to come out and say it. UFO community is the worst of every community that they'll say one thing, but they don't want to go on another channel, back it up or something. They don't. And I don't even bother with the UFO community anymore to even try to say, hey, come on my channel. I don't know. It's like they just want to say their own thing and cut everybody else out. It is what it is. Listen, all groups have egos. You're right. All groups have egos. But there's a weird thing that everybody in the UFO community think they're right and everybody else is lying. They have the evidence, they don't. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest, strangest thing. I invite them all, but they just won't. They even have a blacklist of people to not go on. And I'm on that list. I got to verify by 3 people that I'm on a list to not go on. And it's like, I love listening to people. I love listening to people's stories. I want to know the truth too. But because I don't play ball, I don't automatically all because you come on my show, I'm going to believe you. You're telling me the truth just because you come on my show. I ain't that person. I'll listen to you. But it's not guaranteed that I'm going to believe you. And that's why they won't come on. They only go, people in the UFO community will only go on channels that they know that they will believe them. They won't challenge themselves by going on maybe a channel is more skeptic. And they'll say, why would I want to waste my time? Because you should want to try to back up your story. If you're making, listen, if I was out there and I'm trying to build, listen, if I went out there and trying to build my whole YouTube career around my Bigfoot encounter, which I don't. I have said the story a few times, but I don't. But if I tried to make my whole show wrapped around the Bigfoot encounter, and somebody wants to challenge me, then I should have the balls to go on that channel to talk about it. If I'm trying to wrap my whole show around this incident, and I'm trying to make people like me because of this incident. You get what I'm saying? So you should want to now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you automatically go on a channel you know is a known jackass. But if you're going to base your channel on an event, then you should have the balls to go on different people's channels and tell their story why, what's happened. And still, if that person doesn't believe you, so what? You move on. You go to another channel. Well, hey, guys, let's look at some UFO news here. I'd like to look at some articles to see if there's anything new. So together, let's just do this real quick. We got some time. Let's look at some news. I don't care about the 5 most memorable moments. I don't give a shit about that. Pentagon launches one-stop shop for declassified info about UFOs. The new website will house photos and videos about resolved cases as they are declassified and approved for the public release, the Defense Department said. Whoopie-doo. I'm serious. Because guys, look. They are, first of all, they're disclassified. All right, we're getting a website on disclassified information. Great. But another key word to this, and approved for public release. So if you have to approve a disclassified, right? It's one thing to prove a classified to become disclassified, but you even got to approve a disclassified form before they're going to put it on the website. Would you truly want to go to that website? I don't know. I'm sure UFO channels are going to be wetting their pants and like, oh, look at that photo. Look at that photo. Well, that photo's approved. That the photos you're saying are not going to guarantee they're alien shit from another planet, because if they had a photo that they believe that a 60% can prove that there's a spaceship from another planet, it wouldn't be approved to go to the website. So let's go to the next one. Are aliens real? People online don't seem to care either way. Congressional hearing of UFOs was met with a collective shrug by many Twitters and TikTok users. Well, I'll tell you what. This is interesting. Are aliens real? That's a real good question. People online don't seem to care either way. That's important. That's important because I have said this millions of times before, mostly in the Bigfoot community, that like the state of Washington, there's a high percentage of people who believe the Bigfoot's real, but they just don't care to talk about it. They don't care. They don't give a rat's ass. They don't care. And I believe that's for all communities. Which, even though, listen, when the UFO hearings come, we all talk about it, right? All of us in the chat, all of us get together. We all talk about the congressional hearings and stuff because we're into that stuff. But we're a small, tiny percentage. To most people in the world, don't give a shit about none of this. Some people don't care if there's aliens on other planets. Are the aliens going to pay their taxes? Are the aliens going to put food on the table? And it's such a true fact. a lot of people do believe in this stuff that just don't give a rat's ass about it. They don't look into read stories. It's really only a small percentage of us who does. So really, an article about people online don't seem to care either way. I say to that, do we really give a shit? Do we? We know there's people that don't care. They could be a believer all they want. They just don't care. All right. Former military officials urge governments to be transparent about routine UFO sightings. Former military officials. Listen, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing, but I'm a I'm a former military. Of course, I urge the government to be more transparent in routine UFO sightings. I urging the government to be honest with us. That's not a story. He can make that claim to anybody. Of course, we urge the government, and you really shouldn't say government. Certain departments of the government to be transparent. You know, we all want the government to be transparent on sightings. But the thing is, what exactly is that transparent for you is? Seriously, what is it? Listen, if there was this big ass light, everybody's seen it. And I don't know, the government comes out and they did their work, they did their study, right? And they say this light was a reflection off another plane, satellite, I don't know, whatever it is. It caused this reflection. It's a light. Even if the government was 100% honest and said this is what it was, then you're going to have people watching it saying, oh, the government's covering it up. They're lying. So no matter what, right? No matter what, you can come out and be truthful and you're still a liar. You're still covering it up. That's not real. Or, you know what I mean? Or we don't know what that light is. You know what it is. You're just not telling us. I mean, there's that too, right? There, you know, we just don't know. I don't know. There we go. House committee plans to hold hearings on UFOs. On the other side of the Capitol, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer introduced a measure that would disclassify some records related to unexplained aerial phenomena. Okay. Now, let's take a look at that one. The measure that would disclassify some records, not all, some records. So some that's on the borderline that might not be as important to you, well, we'll disclassify those. Some. Again, it's like you can't make this shit up, right? You know, I mean, I think it'd be a bigger story if Chuck Schumer would say he wants to disqualify all of the records. That'd be like, yes, some. Oh, great. They get to pick and choose which ones they want to disclassify. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. This former Navy pilot has a new mission, normalizing UFO reporting. Airline passengers are encouraged to report suspicious activity in the name of national security, but the pilots have a harder time reporting UAPs. So a former Navy pilot has a new mission, how to normalizing UFO reporting. Wow. Man, I'd like to have that job, right? Well, it's going to take him like 2-3 years to come with a procedure on how to report something on paper. Well, we need to report it correctly with this piece of paper. So we're going to take this piece of paper, and we're going to put line number 8 as number 2. We'll put line number 1 as number 15, and then we'll move there, change the language, and this report, this people reporting is going to change everything. It's going to make it easier. Easier? Just to have the balls to report something? Normalizing? I mean, come on. You could change whatever fucking paper you want. You could change whatever procedure you want. Will it change the human nature of a person seeing something and afraid that people are going to make fun of them or call them crazy or not? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That the human nature part ain't going to change. You could change whatever you want on paper on normalizing UFO reporting. Like, okay, if you want to normalize UFO reporting, then tell us what the reporting is like now. I mean, what's the downfall? Is it being reporting? Do pilots report the reports to the janitors of the airport? You know, or is it reported to the security people? I mean, what's the reporting now? I mean, what's the procedure now? You know. You know, are they not supposed to do the reporting to the baggage claim department? Is that the wrong department that they're supposed to be sending their reporting to? NASA panel studying UFO sighting says stigma and poor data pose challenges. Wow. Don't duh. I mean, 60-member panel, which formed last year, present early findings Wednesday in its first public meeting. A finding report is expected this summer. Oh, good, great, cool. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to read their report. But of course, the report's going to have to be approved first for us to even see it. So it'd be like here. Here's my report. I'm turning it in. Okay. We'll say this to the public. We'll say this to the public. We'll say this to the public. But we won't say this to the public. We'll mention this, but we won't mention that. Same old story. UFO finally gone mainstream. The UFO community isn't thrilled. Oh, snap. Hold the horses. The UFOs have finally gone mainstream, but the UFO community isn't thrilled. It's a shame, said one UFO researcher of the recent shootdowns of UFOs over North America that turned out to be extraterrestrial craft. Oh God, this is great. This is great. I love this one. Because to be honest with you guys, the people who call themselves the true ufologist who makes that claim, they really don't want more people in their field because they want to control the field themselves. It's true. So many people who claim they call themselves ufologists wants to be gatekeepers. It is so freaking true. They don't want it to be complete mainstream. They want the mainstream just to be on them so they can make all the money. They all want to be Jeremy Corbell. Listen, I hate Jeremy Corbell. He's a fraud. But I guarantee you a high percentage of ufologists would trade places with Jeremy Corbell like there's no heartbeat. They would trade places in a heartbeat. They would be that person. They're not thrilled. Oh man, that's so funny. It's so true about a lot of people in the UFO community. Powerful radars, limited scope, had no one spotted a bunch of objects floating in Norris airspace. Whether scientists, government agencies, and the military all have powerful radar systems to detect objects at a very granular level, but they filter their view depending on their mission. Well, powerful radars or not, whatever they capture, will they even tell us? So, wow, a lot of people left the chat. they must chickened out and said, "Okay, we're leaving the chat. That's fine." First of all, I want to thank every single one of you who did stick around towards the end of the show. I appreciate it. I love doing this stuff, and one of the things that I've always said is I'm going to be real to you with my beliefs. I'm not going to pick a belief just because somebody else does. We all have our reasons why we pick a certain story or not. At the end of the day, we all want the stuff to be real. We all would love, maybe some people might not, would love to know inside out that aliens are real. I know we think they're real, but you know what I mean? Like, really know that they're real, that the world is all going to agree on it. You know what I mean? That's all we want at the end of the day. So like I said, these two stories, even though I'm pinning these stories against each other, I always say this: if these stories encourage people to want to investigate the UFOs, then they've done their job. That's the main thing. They've done their job. And listen, I could think one's more real than the other. In real life, it could be the total opposite. The other one's more real than the other ones, because unless you're there, unless you're physically there, nothing could be 100% real to you. I don't care if a person is your best friend that's part of that story that's there. If you went there, that's why I like the Grosh guy, where only thing he was giving was secondhand information. And a lot of people say, "Look, see, it's real." At the end of the day, it's still secondhand information. Unless it's from you, it's not real. So don't get fooled by people. Trust yourself. And at the end of the day, it's all about faith. I've hear people that said, "Hey, there's more evidence here." There's more evidence? Okay. You're telling me there's more evidence. I mean, I guess, should I believe you? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I don't care how people want to spend it. It's all faith. So, oh man. So guys, this week we have, I think I put together some awesome stories that we could tell this week. Hopefully you guys have come back tomorrow. Tomorrow I am pinning two stories up against each other. The Mothman versus a Chubaraba. I'm sorry. The Kuraba. So tomorrow we got a great cryptid show on two legendary folklore stories. If they're real or not, that's up to you. And then for a Paranormal Thursday, what's the bigger story? A witch versus a sorcerer? What is technically more real for you? Is it a witch? Is it a sorcerer? And everything that I read, it's kind of funny. Google always pins these stories like being a sorcerer and witch are for evil. And they're not evil. Goat sucker is much easier to say. Goat sucker versus the Mothman. Thank you, Freaky Geek. Thank you. Listen, I'm the first one to admit that I do have some. There are certain words that I have issues with. It's just the way it is. Issues that I had when I was a kid and all that. So So I apologize to you. The chupacabra. Yeah, I actually physically have some issues saying certain kind of words, so I do apologize. I thank you for Geek for making that one word simpler for me. So it is what it is. But beyond that, I appreciate every single one of you being here and being real. And beyond that, man, guys, hopefully you guys come back tomorrow. And I think I probably just pissed off the whole world, the whole UFO community. But if the UFO community are going to be afraid to come on my channel, and you guys know me, I'm a believer, but because I don't look like them, I wear a cowboy hat. They think I'm they call it what? Some of these comments I get. Oh, look at this redneck. It's like, why would you make fun of people? And what? A redneck supposed to mean someone's a low life because of the way they look? That's wrong to even make comments like that. Oh man, Hobbs, I'm sorry to hear that. You lost your job a few weeks ago. I'm sorry to hear that, Hobbs. That sucks, man. I know how that. God, that sucks. I know how that feels, Hobbs. I still remember the last time I get laid off. I get a ride home from a supervisor. My wife sees me getting out of a vehicle with a box in my hand. It's a horrible feeling. You get off coming home with a box, and it's never good when you're getting dropped off because you have a company vehicle and you're not in that vehicle and you have a box full of your stuff. It's a horrible feeling, and there's nothing that anybody can say to make you feel better and all that. It's a sucky process, and it sucks because you always think it's going to get better, right? But any job you go to, you're just a freaking number. At the end of the day, you're just a number. You can have the best friends in the world, but then the one day you get called into an office, say, hey, whatever, for whatever reason, we merged, we're not making much money, we got to cut backs. And then you learn that even when you have great friends in a workplace it doesn't guarantee you're going to be there long. It is what it is. All right, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you next time on the Paranormal Highway.